Welcome to the special edition of Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Before we get started, I would like to announce that this Saturday at the Elks Lodge in Booton, New Jersey, CWA will be returning for their Halloween event, Halloween Horror. Tonight, we are joined by the Black Rose, Nikki Addams, who will also be at the Halloween Horror. Nikki, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on tonight.
Excellent. Before we go on, I want to introduce you to the crew. First, you know him. He's the Classic Wrestling Manager, Joseph Knight. Joe, what's going on?
Not much. Getting everything set up. As everybody knows, tomorrow night, Booton, New Jersey, 7 p.m. start, Halloween Horror. We have, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 major titles on the line. We all know her already. Nikki Addams will be defending her CWA Ladies Championship against the Clockwork Angel Catred. Yeah, we got the tag titles up for line. We have the Eastern States belt. We got the heavyweight title. And it's going to be a fun night. I hope we get a good turnout.
All right. And, of course, we have the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, you're over at youtube.com. What's going on?
Oh, not much. Let's have some fun.
All right, Nikki. Well, I want to ask you a couple questions. The usual typical question is, what was your biggest inspiration in wrestling?
Let's see. Well, I've been watching wrestling basically my entire life, and ever since I can remember, it was something that I always did with my dad. Of course, when the 90s came around and the Attitude Era started, I guess my dad thought it was a little too much for a younger kid, so he lost some interest there, and I continued to watch it anyway. I just couldn't really stop.
Yeah.
So they didn't know that for a while, though. That was kind of on the down low and the sneak, but
typical teenager.
Yeah. I don't know. I watched it. It was something that him and I shared, and I was always attracted to the fact that it was so entertaining. It was captivating to me. I loved watching Macho Man, with the bright colors and his whole thing, and Miss Elizabeth. I very much enjoyed watching Ted DiBiase too, because I found him super entertaining, even though he was a bad guy, which probably should have said something. The fact that I was interested in bad guys should have really said how I was going to turn out on the dark side. But that, and then when Sean came around, I just thought his charisma and everything, it was just something that really attracted my attention. And then, when the women started doing really well, you had Moolah, and you had those wrestlers, you had Sherry, who I think Sherry was one of the best managers, and I thought she was an excellent wrestler as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with Medusa. I enjoyed watching all of them, but then it kind of dwindled down a bit in the 90s. There was wrestling here and there for women, but not really a lot until later. And then you had Lita, Trish, Victoria, Jazz, Molly Holly, those, and women's wrestling really exploded again. So I was really captivated. I'm I really, really need to try this, but my parents kept telling me I was crazy. But then women's wrestling kind of unfortunately took a wrong turn and started to get kind of, in the direction that, I wouldn't want to do.
Yeah, it really did become
Nothing
very sexual.
Yeah, nothing against them, but I was interested in the wrestling, and I wanted to be as considered to be able to hang with the guys, not just looked at as, oh, she's here and this is what she is, we're just gonna look at her, or whatever, I'm not gonna be doing anything in my underwear. I know that, and it's not that that's against, to each his own, whatever people like, just not my thing.
Understandable.
So the goal was that I was going to start training, and I did my research on where I wanted to go, but I had to move out of my house first and make sure that I had went to school for whatever I wanted to do and be able to support myself, which I did. So I moved out. I had everything going well, and now my parents really couldn't have an opinion, so I went and started training. And there was some people along the way that told me that there was no hope and that I should quit, but 7 years later, here I am. So
That's awesome, and chasing dreams is what you should do. I mean, I have a son. He just turned 18, and he was waiting to be an adult. Now he is. I'm like, be careful what you wish for. And now you have it. And I keep on telling him, you want something, it's not going to fall on your lap. But I do want to move on to similar situation with the women's wrestling. This Sunday, this is going to be Hell in a Cell. It's going to be like the first time ever WWE's had a female wrestling inside Hell in a Cell. What's your thoughts on that?
Um, I'm very excited. I will definitely be watching it. I can't think of two better people to really be in that situation right now. I mean, I think that if like a Trish or a Lita were in that situation years ago, it would have been equally as great. But I mean, Sasha and Charlotte, I mean, I think they're going to have an outstanding match, and I think they're ready for this. I think women have been ready for this for a while if they would have been given the opportunity. I mean, I know that that's something. I mean, why can't a woman do that? Like, why is it just something that a guy can do? No, like, they build up to these feuds and maybe it needs to be settled there. But I think that if given the right opportunity, that a woman is just as capable as performing as well as so. The fact that the time has changed, women now are more frequently main eventing, you know, and people actually do want to sit and watch them rather than use that as the excuse to go on a bathroom break, and they're having the opportunity to wrestle inside Hell in a Cell. I mean, really, the sky is the limit right now. Obviously, women's wrestling has turned back into that positive direction, and it's really a great time to be a female wrestler rather than being like, damn, I wish I wasn't a female. I get no respect, or people just think of me as a certain way. No, like now it's like you can see what I can do, and you can see that maybe I'm even better than you.
And that's, again, great positive thinking. Now, I'm going to ask you one more question before I kick it to the over guys. You were talking about, men and women wrestling. There is, I know in the indies, intergender wrestling is a lot more often. Would you say there's any difference between fighting against men or women?
Um, yes. I would say, well, I mean, I like every opportunity I get. I don't take it for granted. I'm always thankful to work with new people and like to learn from them. But I have to say, right now, for the most part, I've enjoyed wrestling with men, and I really enjoy the fact that they aren't taking it like fluff. They're really going for it. Like I wrestled, um, not this past weekend, the weekend before. I worked for Warriors of Wrestling, and I had it was a Friday show and a Saturday show. On one of the nights, I went one-on-one with Steve Scott, and we had a great match. He cheated, but that's okay because he was clearly I can do anything better than him, so he had to cheat. But we had a pretty good match, and I'm thankful for that opportunity, and also to show him keep sticking with the selfies, because clearly, maybe he can't hang with me. I don't know. But the night before, I was in a 5-way scramble, and these guys did not take it easy on me. I ended up not winning the match, and I took a massive spear by Jason Karloff, and he plowed into me the way he would plow into a guy. So it's I can take it. I might not have won that one, but I was standing at the end of it.
All right. Now, I'm going to kick it over to Joe. Joe, over to you.
Well, Nikki, I followed your career. You came with us. You took on Jesse Brooks. You won the CWA Ladies title. I understand from your promos you had met Catrit before.
Yeah.
When it comes to taking her on, do you have a strategy how you're gonna battle her again on this show?
Fortunately for me, I mean, maybe no, it's not. No, it's fortunate for me. I know her pretty well. We've had a love-hate relationship. There's times where we work together, and sometimes, we can be a little dark and on the same page, stuff like that. But I think I've been around a bit longer, and I've played the game a little bit better, and I think she's used to me being the nice guy. So, you know, I think she'll be in for quite a little bit of a surprise. But I know her moves. I know when they're coming. So I think it'll be a great match. But I think ultimately, think we know who the better woman is.
Absolutely. Another question I have for you is, you've been around the territories, you've battled other women. What woman wrestler, and I say the woman wrestler because I don't like the term divas or anything like that. What woman wrestler would you have loved to meet in the ring?
Well, firstly, I'm going to say that I absolutely hate the term diva, so thank you for not liking to use that word. I feel like we're all equal. We're all wrestlers. That's what we do. But to answer, anybody, you mean like dead or alive? It doesn't matter.
Right, like if you had a chance to meet someone that you would love to get in the ring with, who would that person have been?
Sherry, hands down.
Yeah, I met Sherry once at a convention, and she was wild. Could pick me up and fling me around.
I'm assuming it's Sherry Martel.
Sherry Martel, sensational Sherry.
Absolutely. Her personality is electrifying to me. I think she would jump in there and I feel like anything she did was great, whether she was wrestling or managing, and then she had to enhance people and make them really stand up, for example, Macho Man is Macho Man. He really could have been fine on his own, but them together was incredible, and she never took anything away from him. He never took anything away from her. It was just an equal split to basically she'd be ringside and you'd be watching her and be interested, but you at the same time you'd be watching the match. No attention was taken away. It was just perfect. And you ask, I'm sure you'd ask her to do something and she did it. I mean, look at the bump she would take when she wasn't even wrestling in the match. Anything that was needed, you just know that she obviously had the drive and the passion.
Okay, I got one more question, Rick. Hey, Nikki, what is your goals right now? Are you looking to, go on to Ring of Honor, NXT, WWE? What are your set goals for right now?
Right now, my set goals are, I've went through a lot of changes, I'm in the best shape I've been in my wrestling career. So, I mean, I'm working on myself, my wind, and, my overall ability is the best it's ever been as well. So, I mean, I'm going to keep trying to move forward and advance and take opportunities when they come. The sky is the limit. I would love to get to Ring of Honor. That is definitely something I would try to do. And the same for NXT, and you never know, maybe WWE would be a step also. I mean, you never know what's in the cards. I mean, I would love that. If it didn't happen though, I definitely wouldn't view it as a failure. I mean, at least I'm not going to be sitting at home saying, why didn't I ever try, and where I didn't even go to train and learn how to wrestle. So overall, it's a win.
All right. I have a quick question. Now, you mentioned you would like to go to NXT. Have you even tried to apply to Performance Center?
I have, but that was more on the recent side, so I really have no news on that yet. You never know, though.
Okay. Well, I'm going to kick it over to Lance. Lance, over to you.
Okay, my first question is, what separates you from everybody else in the business?
I feel like I'm realistic. Not that I'm saying that anybody else is not, but at the same time, I work very hard to be the best I can. I'm more motivated than ever. I work out, to try to stay in shape. I'm committed. And when I make an agreement, if something is gonna break it, it's for something out of my control. I'm not a type of person that takes a book and notion somebody. So I would say my loyalty. I have respect for everyone. I really don't want to have, I don't like when there's issues, but also I don't know, I'm a little out there, but I work really hard. Like, while other people, not that there's anything wrong with it, like, for me, I have to support myself. So I manage to balance having two jobs, paying for my bills, my car, my apartment, living my life and managing to make, like, my dream come true. I mean, it doesn't take me away from it. There's a good balance. And I'm a little out there. Like, sometimes I like to kiss girls, it just happens.
Well, I'd say for a guy, that's definitely an attraction.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Who would you say influenced your in-ring style?
That would be a bunch of different answers, honestly. Like, now I would say I'm more evolved than ever now. I still enjoy telling a story, but I'm not that I'm super complex or anything, but, I've evolved a little bit. I add some other things in there. Things have changed, especially if you watch wrestling on TV. That has changed, which means we all have to change our style. So I would say I'm a good mix of, your traditional wrestling with a little bit of Japanese style. But overall, I've always enjoyed watching Macho Man and Shawn. I mean, I've always like Shawn selling, and his charisma has always been something that's really captivated me. The same for Macho Man, but I've always enjoyed Ted DiBiase also because he bumped like a champion and he made everyone look good. He just had the heel gimmick down pat. He never even needed a championship to show how great he was. And then Brett, because I like to get technical as well. But I would say those would be my go-to guys. Owen too, because I thought Owen was great. I thought he was very underrated.
Yeah, actually, there is a documentary that's not WWE. It's the Life and Death of Owen Hart, and if you've yet to see it, I
Yeah.
highly recommend it.
Oh, I have seen it, and it's great. Like, not well, no. I mean, what happened to Owen is not
Absolutely,
great,
but
um, just to kind of see like his life and be trying to see like if you could understand what was going on in like his life and his brain and stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, sometimes you gotta, like, no matter how much you love something, like, you gotta make sure you're okay as well. Because if you're not okay, how does everything else you're working on turn out okay?
absolutely, I 100% agree with you with that. Now, one last I want to ask you, excuse me, is when you do your matches, how do you mentally prepare for that match?
Um, well, I go in with like being as positive as possible, because I feel like the minute you have a negative thought, you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage, and just I try to always have a backup plan in my mind. God forbid something derails and doesn't go according to plan. You don't want to be the person standing there like a deer in headlights, like, oh my God, what do I do now? You want to just pick up the pieces and keep going and rolling with the punches. So that really is my game plan, to do the best you can. Never underestimate anybody either. I'm not saying expect the worst, but, maybe not expect the best. That way, like I said, God forbid something comes up, there's a way to keep going and make it the best it can be at least.
All right, thanks. That's awesome. Well, we're gonna from here we're gonna wrap it up. Nikki Addams, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you have any other events coming up?
I do. I'm firstly, I'm very excited about tomorrow. Obviously, it's been a few years, so the fact that CWA is coming back and like right before my favorite holiday, I love Halloween, so I'm very excited for tomorrow. And I'm very excited to work Catrid. Like I said, we have a history, and I'm looking forward to that. In addition, though, there's a few things coming up. I got November 19th. I'll be working for Warriors of Wrestling, taking on Allie from TNA, also known as Cherry Bomb. And then I work for a place in Pennsylvania called Phoenix Pro Wrestling, where I'm not sure who I'll be taking on, but I am the Phoenix Pro La Femme champion there as well. So I'm sure only good things to report soon. And that's about it right now.
Okay, and Lance, you did one more question. We do usually have another co-host. His name is Son of a Chandy, and he has a traditional question, but we're kicking this one over to Lance.
Yes. Do you have any road stories you can share with us? Good or bad, or what have you?
Well, a couple weeks ago, I was driving to New Jersey for old time wrestling, and I was by myself, and I had just gotten into the left lane on a highway because my turn was coming up, and some crazy old man didn't signal, and he claimed he didn't see me, and I swerved and crashed into a median to avoid him.
Oh my God!
Oh,
I still went to the show and wrestled. I was 10 minutes away from where I had to be. And I'm like, we exchanged information, got the cops, and I'm like, the car still drove. So I'm like, I got to go wrestle. See you later. I'm like, hey, next time try to like, I don't know what to say. I mean, I was actually like, no one was hurt or anything. So obviously, like, cars can be repaired. So that's fine. But yeah, it's like usually stuff like that. Or there was one time where I was with Tara Calloway, and literally I knew I didn't do anything wrong, but I got pulled over for like whatever reason. Like they thought my car was stolen, and they had to like run all my information and stuff like that. She's like, what did you do wrong? And I'm like nothing. And like they were taking so long, she was like, oh, they probably have a warrant out for your arrest. I'm like, oh my God, shut up. I really didn't do anything. They eventually got to the and checks out, go, but it was literally like 45 minutes of me sitting in the car sweating. Like, what the hell? So that's my luck. It's not usually good. So as long as I end up not hurt or anything, I consider it a good day.
Well, again, Ms. Adams, I would like to thank you for coming onto the show. I am your hardcore Rick Head, your hardcore host Rick Head. Excuse me. And again, Nikki Addams will be at Halloween Horror in Booton, New Jersey. Joe is not here, so he's always over at CWA the Zone. And of course, I'd like to thank Lance for coming on. So for the Hardcore Crew and Ms. Adams, I'm your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.
Thank you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.